Hi, today is September 27th, 2023, and here are my poems for the day. The first one is poem number 1556 for the year, sort of, sometimes, maybe. If it's a cloudy and rainy morning like yesterday was, and you're on the 26th floor of some building and you look out at the Hudson in Jersey and Governor's Island as a little ferry boat chugs along maybe to Manhattan, it doesn't necessarily look like a Monet, but then if you take a photograph through the window, then yes, maybe the photograph can look like a Monet, sort of, sometimes, maybe. Poem number 1557, The Tits of Witches. My mother asked me yesterday if it was cold, and I said that it was. Then I asked her if she knew the expression cold as a witch's tit, and she said yes. I said, well, it's not that cold. It's only like in the low 50s, and you've got to figure a witch's tit would be well below freezing. But after discussing it further, we recognized that if the witches were gathered around a fire, perhaps with a boiling cauldron or something, then one would expect the witches' tits to be quite warm. My mother said maybe witches can keep their bodies warm all the time. And I said, well, if that were the case, then cold as a witch's tit would mean that it was warm out, which is not what it generally means. But it would be interesting to use cold as a witch's tit to describe warm weather. I headed home after my visit. It was cold, but not as cold as a witch's tit, nor was it as warm as the tits of witches gathered round a fire. Poem number 1558, Hoping and Wanting. At the bar, they hoped for something stronger. In the bed, they wanted it to last longer. At the bar, they hoped for something less cheap. In the bed, they wanted something deep. At the bar, they hoped for something intoxicating. In the bed, they wanted not to be masturbating. At the bar, they hoped to wind up in bed. In the bed, they wanted to be back at the bar instead. Poem number 1559, The Sweet Spot. There's a rush before the rush, when the trains run fast and aren't as crowded as during the actual rush. And while the streets are not almost empty, they are almost empty. If you can travel in that sweet spot, you will reach your destination more quickly and more pleasantly than usual. But don't let everybody know, because if everybody does it, the sweet spot won't be so sweet anymore. And the last poem of the day, poem number 1560, Tall White Man. Tall White Man sings a song he wrote maybe back in the 90s. Tall White Man sings a song he wrote that uses the N-word. Tall White Man offends a few people with the song he wrote. Tall White Man makes a few people wonder whether he intends to offend the people that he is offending. Tall White Man makes a few people wonder whether he is insensitive. Tall White Man doesn't make anybody wonder whether they are too sensitive. Tall White Man makes a few people wonder whether he just doesn't give a fuck. Tall White Man is tall and white and male, and only he can decide whether he needs to retire his song. Okay, that's it. Thank you. I appreciate you.